Uh, Hi, in this tutorial we are going to see how to configure opencode in order to use it as an AI CCE migration assistant. Uh, for this tutorial you need to configure your environment, your local environment and your source CCE environment in order to have these conditions. You need to have installed opencode configured with Huawei MCP. Also, you need to have a source CCE environment in configure. Here we are waking up the source CCE environment. As you can see here, we have the source environment. We have here two nodes, and we have here an OpenWebUI pod. Let's wait some minutes in order to have this pod working, because I just wake up the CC. While we wait for that, let's continue with the tutorial. Here we have an example of how to replicate exactly my example. Let's see this guide. In this guide you can see minimal example of how to configure OpenWebUI in a CCE. You can see here several steps in order to execute the deployment of this pod following the terminal. And the idea is to have a CCE cluster as our source. Next to that, we need to teach AI in order to have the skill of migrate CCE. For the tutorial, we are going to use velero. As you can see here in the guide, we have here some steps related to velero configuration. And let me see here, for example, and you need to pay attention for the uploader type and these other parameters. In order to remember some main concepts related to CCE migration with velero, we need to use in both cases for CCE source and destination the same velero bucket in order to save the backup, and during the deployment we need to specify the usage of persistent volume claim in order to have a full scenario, because we have both workload and persistent volume in order to migrate both. That's why we are here using velero. So let's verify if currently we have working the OpenWebUI. Yeah, we have OpenWebUI here. Let's continue. As you can see here, we have working OpenWebUI over this Elastic IP and this port. As you can see here, we have the OpenWebUI source pod, and now our goal is to migrate this workload and its persistent volume to the region of Mexico City 1. Let's start. As you can see here, I have already configured OpenWebUI with my account, so when this pod will be migrated in the other region, we have to see my information again. So let's continue. You must create a folder when you are going to use commands, Terraform script, etc. So we are here in CCE migration folder. Let's start. Opencode is loading. Okay, we are here. Let me change the keyword distribution. And here you can see we have 3 NCPs. For this tutorial, I developed some skills. The way I developed the main skill, related to the CCE migration, was based on these steps. Let me show you. Deployment migration planner is this. Basically, we generalize the information of the steps in order to ask to the user some general information, and we show to the LLM model the main steps in order to advise the steps. Also, we have here an example. Basically, it's the same as the guide I provide to configure the source environment, and you can, iteration by iteration, you can tell to LLM model to improve the skill.mv in order to have a better skill. We also have 2 more skills. The logic used to find out these skills is the same. If you have a planner related to Terraform, you could use this skill, but if you don't have a planner for that, you can use this only using QCLI. Okay. In order to install this skill, you need to create a folder with the same name that you can see here, and that's why we have this. Let me see here, and this configuration. Opencode skills, and you need to create. You can choose, as I said some minutes ago, you can choose between using Terraform or a planner, or directly using a planner over QCLI. And the most important part is a skill related to the migration. Our iteration by iteration, we found out sometimes the deployment of the destination environment, because LMOL needs to create the destination environment, sometimes fails. So during the iteration, we found that a good approach is using 2 main fronts, one related to deployment the destination environment, and other in order to migrate. You have to be really specific when you order, especially when you are planning in the plan mode. So you can see the result, but let me show you the process. Let's start. So our first step is deploying the destination environment. but let me verify that we don't have a CCE in the destination environment. I selected a Mexico City one, so here we shouldn't see a cluster. Okay, so our destination environment is clear. Okay. Let's maybe improve a little bit this prompt. Analysis deployment over our second region. Okay, I think it's okay. We already pasted. Then can. I think it's a good idea to be more specific with the planner. Do not forget follow the steps in the Terra for deployment of CCE. Okay. Let's continue when the planning is finished. So let's continue. As you can see here, OpenWeb UI finished the planning for the deployment. So here we can see a comparison between the source cluster and the destination. For the destination, it's asking us for information. So let's continue.
El módulo es como la plantilla pero lo que sí es que eso no es ¿eso no lo han hecho? O sea, se supone que eso está bien.
No, pero con eso ellos desplegaron ya algo, no, solo plantilla. Yo creo que es por aquí. Yo creo que esos más cogieron un Terraform como los de Amazon, que tienen más cosas y trataron solo de guardar ya está.
So let's continue when the.
Pero, o sea, usted lo que puede hacer es usar el plan que no tenga errores, pero eso significa que vamos a la sí, porque eso puede hacer vainas que no se entiende. Si lo ponemos.
As you can see here, the plan for the deployment. In this step, you should verify the steps planned by the model. You verify that everything is okay.
Tengo que practicar el segundo nivel, pues el segundo tiempo será matar.
And then you change to build mode.
Chequear. Luego gol de Chequia, gol de Corea. El gol de Corea.
So let's continue. As you can see, the build for the deployment finished. You can see here, as I show in the guide, that with this command we can switch between the clusters. So here the OpenWare UI is using this command. You can see here that both destination nodes are ready, and we can see here the summary. Let's verify here, and as you can see here in the Mexico City 1 region, we have working the CCE destination with two equivalent nodes. As you can see, we have here two nodes in a healthy state. So let's continue with the migration plan. So for the migration plan, we switch again to the plan mode, and we are going to use the second prompt. Also, if one you can improve the prompt, let's add another line. For example, do not forget to bind to verify and bind paste to install por the velero. But if you see in the related skit, I already add the information, but we can assure a double using that prompt. So let's start. Okay, the plan finished, and we have here the plan for the migration. Let's analyze the plan generated. So here there is a comparison between the source and the destination environment. OpenCode identified that it needs to install Velero, and that we don't have bounded elastic IP to the nodes. This step is important when you use the method I presented in the guide of installing Velero. But you also can push a Velero image to the SWR repository in order to use it instead of accessing to internet. So if in this case, using this method, we need elastic IPs. That's why OpenCode identified that. So let's continue. We need to verify that these steps are pretty similar to our skill, because is why we are teaching to the LLM model. So here, let me verify. Okay, everything looks good. Here is important to see that both CCE have the same bucket, and these two parameters are important: the uploader type and this parameter in false. Okay. Let's switch to the second CCE, destination CCE, and remaining steps. Okay, everything looks okay. Ah, an important part of the migration, as you know, in, in because we are migrating between different regions. If our nodes have internet access, they can pull from another region, but it's a good practice in this case in order to have reliability, using the SWR from the same region. So at the end, we change the SWR to the pointing SWR. So here we have the planning. Let's change to build mode and execute the plan. The deployment build finished. Here we have the summary. We can see here that it finished successfully. Let's summarize the process. Okay, as you saw, we have here the summary of the plan, and the model executed the steps from the skill file. It verifies the elasticity bounding, and install velero in the destination environment. Also verify that it's working the bots of velero. Then it restores the backup from the ODS to the destination environment. It verifies the process related to the PVC restoration. And finally, it changed the pointing SWR to the same region of the destination. So here you can see that it pushed the image of OpenWebUI, our example pod, to the destination region. It's good to remember that in this tutorial I jumped some steps related to Docker logging, etc. But you can see the detail in the guide related to executing the migration manually using terminal in the first step of the guide. Here, this document, you can see the detail. So let's continue. Let's verify in the graphical user interface. In workloads, we can see here we have OpenWebUI in the destination region in the destination cluster. So let's continue. As you can see here, I am entering into the OpenWebUI, deployed and migrated with its persistent data. to the second region. As you can see here, we keep the information. But for this specific case, I have to clarify some information, because for this example I configure a persistent volume, so I added an appendix related to this case, because we have the case in which we only migrate CCE, but in this case we need to migrate also the persistent volume content. So I created another skill, like you can see here the description, and in order to supply some limitations with Velero, because all its characteristics aren't compatible. So some of them are not compatible with Cloud, but we can use instead obsutil in order to migrate the persistent volume part. Following this example, you can understand how to use it in combination of Velero with obsutil. This example we can see currently in the terminal. I prompt this verify the source environment and verify if it was migrated the persistent volume. As LLM found, we didn't migrate data, so LLM started migrating using this plan. I put build mode and execute, and finally we have here working OpenWebUI in the destination cluster. In addition, if you want to have a similar behavior in your opencode, you can use my agents.env file with my configuration for the behavior of my agents. Thank you for your attention.